The church still carried the heavy scent of incense, thick and clinging to the air as though even the walls were mourning. My cousins leaned forward in their polished suits, eyes gleaming like vultures circling a dying beast, waiting to tear into whatever scraps of fortune were left behind. The lawyer's voice broke through the silence, steady and cold as marble. $35 million to charity. The room stirred. A few sharp breaths, a few forced smiles. And to you, the lawyer continued, glancing at me, a toolbox. A rusty, dented toolbox was placed before me, its iron handle dull with age. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the laughter began, low, sharp, cutting through the air like knives. My cousins chuckled openly, their amusement cruel and unrestrained. Uncle always knew you amount to nothing. One sneered. I didn't respond. I just rested my hand on the cold iron lid. It was heavier than it looked. Too heavy, almost deliberate. Something about it felt wrong. Or maybe it felt right. That night, in the dim solitude of my apartment, I placed the box on the table and ran my fingers along its edges. The metal was old but sturdy. When I lifted the lid, I noticed a faint outline along the bottom, a false panel. Beneath it, hidden like a secret, was a phone. Before I could even process what I was holding, it vibrated. The screen lit up. A single incoming call. I hesitated, then answered. A calm voice on the other end spoke, clear and controlled. The Real inheritance begins now. My breath caught. My uncle had been a titan. Real estate, shipping, offshore accounts. His reach stretching across continents. He built empires with the grin of a gambler and the patience of a killer. But beneath that iron exterior was something few ever understood. He never married, never had children. Once he told me, loyalty isn't blood, it's choice. I believed him. Maybe that's why his will, his rejection, cut so deep. Why would he leave me with junk, while strangers got millions? Unless, of course, he hadn't. Maybe the man who always spoke in riddles had left me exactly what he wanted me to find. The phone had a single contact and a locked folder. I opened it and found hundreds of files, messages, documents, and transactions bearing the names of my cousins. My pulse quickened as I read. These weren't just records. They were confessions, property transfers, fake charities, offshore accounts. They had stolen from him. For years, they'd siphoned millions out of his empire, his life's work. They hadn't just mocked me. They'd robbed him while he was alive. And somehow he'd known. Every file was dated, signed, traced. He'd followed the money, collected proof, but never exposed them. He hadn't trusted lawyers or boards. He'd trusted me. The betrayal wasn't his. It was theirs. And what he'd left me wasn't a toolbox. It was a weapon. I didn't rage. I didn't shout. Rage is loud, and loud men lose wars. Instead, I planned. The phone contained everything. Encrypted keys, access codes, ledgers, instructions. Half-coded, half obvious. As if he wanted me to earn the truth. I studied for weeks, mapping every shell company, every trust they created to hide their theft. Quietly, methodically, I traced each stolen dollar. Then I began taking it back. Step 1, leverage. I used my uncle's encryption keys to lock their accounts, freeze transfers, and reroute transactions. Millions they thought were safe in the Cayman Islands disappeared overnight, redirected into a trust only I could access. They couldn't even report, because doing so would expose their own crimes. Step 2, exposure. Among the files were audio recordings, conversations my uncle had secretly taped, my cousins bragging, scheming, laughing about how easily they fooled him. I didn't release them all at once. I timed them like dominoes. One to a journalist who served on the charity's board, another to an IRS agent who owed my uncle a favor. Each leak was surgical. Each revelation bled them a little more. Step 3, the trap. When the stage was set, I invited them to dinner, the same table where they'd mocked me after the funeral. I poured them wine, smiled, and let them believe I was still the family fool clutching a worthless box. They laughed, smug and drunk on greed. Then I slid a folder across the table. Inside, copies of their signatures, bank statements, transaction logs, and voice recordings. Proof of everything. They went pale. The laughter stopped. "You think this will hold up?" one cousin spat, but his voice trembled. I leaned forward, calm and unshaken. "It already has. The IRS is everything. The board, too. By tomorrow morning, you're finished." The room erupted, shouting, cursing, bargaining. I didn't move. "You mock me for inheriting nothing," I said quietly. "Turns out, I inherited everything you stole." Silence followed, thick, suffocating silence. One cousin tried to laugh again, but it cracked in his throat. Another gripped his wine glass, so tightly that it shattered in his hand. They knew it was over. Their downfall wasn't explosive. It was quiet, controlled, like a skyscraper imploding from the inside, brick by brick, until there was nothing left but dust. When the dust settled, the estate wasn't just restored. It was mine. The charity named in the will received its full amount. My uncle's legacy remained clean and noble. But the rest, the stolen assets, the accounts, the properties, all passed through the trust to me. I didn't boast. I didn't flaunt. I simply moved into his old mansion. The air still smelled faintly of cigars and old leather, his ghost lingering in the study where he used to work late into the night. The rusty toolbox sat on the desk, empty now, but never meaningless. A reminder of the day everything changed. My cousins? Ruined, bankrupt, blacklisted. One fled the country. Another drowns in lawsuits that will outlive him. They learned what my uncle had always known. Loyalty isn't blood. It's choice. And I chose revenge. Not loud, not messy, but quiet, precise, absolute. Sometimes I still glance at that toolbox, trace my fingers over the rust, and smile. They thought they were mocking me with junk, but what they really handed me was the sharpest weapon of all,